Are we? Yeah. Right. Welcome back to our regular public included meeting. We are having some technical difficulties with our live streaming, so we'll be recording the meeting and staff will ensure that it's up online due course. We resume back at acknowledgements and tributes. Do I have any acknowledgements or tributes to share today? Councillor Matt.
I'd just like to acknowledge the passing of Sir Bob Gillies, Robert Nan on Gillies. He whakapapa's back through to Papua on Kohonei, and so has strong links with this area, and he was the last surviving member of the 28th Māori Battalion, and continually fought for the rights of Māori soldiers, especially those that came back from the war. And so, you know, he never stopped, and I think always having it there, and the injustices that happened after the war to those Māori soldiers needs to continue to be acknowledged, and his work should continue to be, you know, moved on as well and not forgotten. Kia ora.
There is no public participation. Sorry, were there any other acknowledgements or tributes this afternoon? There are no public participation registered for this afternoon. Is there any urgent business that I'm aware of? No. I'm looking now to consider the Strategy Working Committee meeting minutes from the 2nd of October. Is there any feedback or corrections, please? That being the case, do I have a mover to confirm that the ordinary and extraordinary minutes of the Strategy Working Committee meetings held on 2nd of October 2024 are a true and correct record? Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Elams. All those in favour, please say aye. All those against, no. The motion is carried. Any matters arising from the previous minutes, please? I'm not aware of, but we don't have any report backs from our voice communities. That brings us to item 10, decision reports from the Chief Executive and Council officers. The first being the retrospective approval of unbudgeted operational expenditure for an unexpected event at Greytown Wastewater Treatment Plant. That is Andrew is online, and Stefan is with us as needed. Would you like to take us through the report and highlight any key points for discussion?
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take the report largely as being read. The issue being, can everyone hear?
Sorry, we just can't hear you.
Oh, apologies.
We're having trouble hearing you.
Can you move your mic a little bit higher?
How's that?
Much better.
Is that better? Thank you, Janice.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I would take this report as being read. It relates to effectively a unexpected event which relates to a leak from the Greytown wastewater treatment plant. The leak itself was treated effluent, but the treated effluent had not been disinfected. The issue rose back from 2019 from previous work at the plant, and there has been a discrepancy between inflow and outflow volumes since that date, which was put down previously to inaccurate flow meters and calibration. In 2023, November, a new flow meter was installed at the plant, and the discrepancy between volumes were continued, and subsequent to that, Wellington Water undertook further work to see what was going on. This resulted in the identification of a leak from the redundant outfall structure, which was immediately attended to with great comms across media, elected members and iwi hapu, and by the 16th of October 2024 the leak was stopped, repaired, and everything is back as it was. The volume of the leak looks significant, but it is less than 20% of the total volume entering the plant. And again, I'll just reiterate that it is treated effluent. The only part of the treatment that's missing was disinfection. So this report, due to the urgency of fixing the leak, is coming to you after the repair is done, and is consequently seeking that retrospective approval to spend the money. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. That's very helpful. We go to comments. I would just say that a leak of 20% of the inflow is substantial.
I don't think it's either.
Substantial, and it is not to be underestimated. And whilst it is treated, I think we just need to acknowledge that it was a substantial leak, hence the urgency with which it has been fixed, and therefore why this is a retrospective report. Comments or questions? Thank you, Councillor.
Thanks, Chair. As a result of identification and solving this issue, are we going to face any issue or consequence or enforcement from Greater Wellington?
Through the Chair, Greater Wellington have been given an instant report from Wellington Water that's been reviewed by staff. There has been no feedback to date from Greater Wellington Regional Council on that report. So at the moment, unknown.
Thanks, Andy.
Any other questions? Councillor Woodcock.
Thanks, Chair. Great to see this leak's finally been fixed after a number of years. One thing that concerns me is the rather large amount of money for a very short fix. I would like to see the council at this table given a full detailed report and complete breakdown of cost of where every cent went on that job, please.
It's a nice round number. And
Sorry, what was the final comment?
I just said it's a nice round number, and it would be very interesting, because if you're talking about something in that short space of time, exactly what was happening, because I know that we had raised I believe it was at the beginning of this year, that there was issues that had been noticed by visitors to the stream, to Papawai stream, with regards, so they knew something was wrong because they could actually physically see it, but they had had issues prior believing something was going on. So to hear that following that from January, that it was only after this new piece of equipment was put on and then showing, that this was done, I think that's a bit of a shame that there was such a lag. But I also want to just acknowledge it was a very quick fix. So I too would like to second what Councillor Woodcock has said about getting a more of a breakdown on what was spent and what went to. So,
Andy, does council already have in their receipt that breakdown of information, or would you need to seek that from Wellington Water?
Through the Chair, the 170,000 was included in the report and was the advice that we received from Wellington Water at the time the report was written, and at the time the leak was identified. It was their best estimate of the cost of fixing the leak. Final costs haven't been yet supplied to Council, but I'm happy to chase those through if that would help this committee. Thank you.
Just a question for you, Councillor Woodcock. You're looking for that to come as a result of these recommendations?
As a result of the recommendations, and I don't want to vote on it until I've seen it.
Thank you. Just clarifying, Councillor.
I think you were before me. I'm happy to go first.
Thanks, Councillor Biggs. Just looking at that timings, So in the report, it says here the 28th of August, the leak was identified, the 14th of October, the work commenced, 16th of October, work was, well, the leak was plugged, and the 21st of October, the repair was completed. So if that was a 7-day period and 170k of work over a 7-day period, I'd agree with Councillor Woodcock. Would be good to understand what the costs were and
Yeah, so a breakdown of that 170.
for 1 week's work.
Councillor Gray.
I guess I just wanted to get some more technical clarification. With the wastewater treatment plant, am I right in assuming that wastewater goes into the treatment plant, it's treated, disinfected, and then discharged to the stream, and there's nowhere else that it goes?
To land.
Through the chair, there is a blend at Greytown between land disposal and into the stream.
Okay. And
The
you
land
were
disposal,
confident in the volumes that were going to land, but there was a discrepancy in how much was being discharged to the stream?
through the chair, correct.
And that discrepancy has been known for
2019.
2019. And you've got in here that once it was sort of, I guess, formally identified post those flow meters going in, that there was signage put in place to not fish or swim or drink or collect food along the stream. Was that signage there before you were able to quantify the volume that was going into that stream? How long has that signage been there? It's always,
Through the chair, it's always been there.
okay. Cool, that's all I wanted to know, thank you.
Councillor Bosley.
Yeah, I'm sort of in agreement with Councillor Woodcock over here, but given this has gone back to 2019, I don't see this as being a use of an emergency and the use of emergency. I think this should come out of.
I'll let Janice answer. My understanding is the emergency is that once you find the issue, we are beholden to fix that with the regulated relief.
We knew about it several years ago.
We kind of stuck aside.
Through the chair, we may have known we had a discrepancy. We didn't know where the discrepancy or what the discrepancy was. So obviously, once we found out what the discrepancy was, we moved with urgency to stop it. And the unexpected event reserve of 86,000 occurred from an operational underspend last financial year. We've never had any money in that fund before, so it's not that this is built up over time to be used for a future event. We had slightly more than that, I think, carried forward at the end of the year, but some of it was used for accelerating the Martinborough, I think, capacity study, maybe, no? But anyway, the amount of money that we have there can be used for this because it is an operational cost to fix that leak.
Yeah, so that's kind of points like it's an operational cost rather than an emergency spend, and it should come out of unbudgeted.
It is not budgeted because we didn't know about it before, and it's above my delegated authority to it's come to the table.
Yeah, I just don't think it's. I just don't think it's.
I think the thing to remember about these recommendations is that it is an approval for an estimated expenditure of up to 170k. So I fully support the requests around the table to get a detailed cost analysis of what it has actually cost. But that wouldn't have been known at the time this paper was written, given the timelines we have to get the agendas out. So
As we kind of know that with Wellington Water, they're likely to come back and go, we need another 30,000 because we forgot about the tap.
The first one.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do we need a fourth recommendation for the breakdown, or you will endeavour? It's noted. It's noted, and it will come to us. I think Janice has made a good point. This is a approval of
An
up
estimate.
to and an estimated cost. So we would, yeah, so the number 3 would become approves 86,000 rather than recommends 10,000. Yeah. So I personally, I feel comfortable with approving the spend, provided that that we get that breakdown of the costs. Councillor Gray.
Just as a question for our advisor online, now that we have that 20% of water back going through the disinfectant process, has that affected how the treatment plant operates? Does it lift up its processing by 20%?
Through the chair, the treatment plant will operate as it normally does. It will just be treating a increased volume of effluent through the UV filter.
So it still functions. We don't have to worry about overloading a creaking treatment plant.
It will be treating a increased volume. The UV plant will be treating a increased volume of treated effluent for disinfection, but the plant will still be operating as it normally does.
Okay, and the UV treatment part of it, you're confident that it's not going to
Correct.
suffer with an increased volume? Okay.
Correct.
Bearing in mind that we fully know that plant is working to the prescribed capacity as is. I'm going to move on with the recommendations and we'll see where we land. I'm looking for a mover to receive the retrospective approval of unbudgeted operational expenditure for an unexpected event at the Greytown wastewater treatment plant report.
Melissa, may I just ask another question? Is there any reason why, until we actually get the funds, we know that there's the 86,484, that seems like a good amount to have done that fix anyway. I'm not really comfortable going any higher than that until we see what the costings were.
I think through the chair,
When it's an
what
estimate.
we're saying to Wellington, what we're asking you to do, because this is something that's come up that wasn't in the plan, is for you to approve it because I can't. And that this will be contained within the operational budgets that we currently have. So this shouldn't go over budget, but we need approval for the work because it wasn't planned. So my recommendation to you is not to get hung up on the number, but to look at what we're asking, which is retrospective approval to carry out the work up to a value of. So, I mean, whether you say it's 86 or 120, the work's been done and we will report back to you on what that cost was. And this was the estimated value we had when the report was written.
Okay, maybe we'll take them one at a time. So do I have a mover to receive the report, please? Thank you, Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Macaulay. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion is carried. Sorry, all those against? No, thank you. Motion is carried. 2, retrospectively approve the estimated expenditure of 170,000 to fix the identified leak of treated but not disinfected wastewater to the Papawai stream. Mover, thank you, Councillor Gray. Thank you, Councillor Maynard. Seconded. All those, and do we want to talk about it? No. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. All those against, no.
No, no.
And I don't mind. I have a concern that I do not believe that it's 170,000, and that's my concern.
So sorry, which way did you?
Because you moved that.
I know, but it's because no matter what, I want it out of the Papawai stream. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want it out of the Papawai stream, but
It is out of the.
It is out.
yeah, I know, but that's why I'm like, yes, but it's the number. It's the number I'm not sure of.
But Genesis. Yeah, I just wasn't sure which way. Yeah, I'm sorry, you were in no.
You do it here?
No.
All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Hands up. 3.
I am in half.
No, we can't have a half.
I want it out of the stream. I want it out of the
It's
stream.
done. It's done. All we're doing, we're not talking about the money. We're talking about the fact we need to approve the work that has been done.
Yeah, we
The money's later, right?
Sorry, I'm looking, so we're going back to the vote because the first one was unclear. So all those in favour of approving the estimated expenditure of 170,000, please put your hand up so I can count them. So that's,
No,
so it's 3, and all those against, please say no.
no.
Okay, so that's 5, so it's lost, which means where do we go with number 3?
I don't have approval to spend the money that I've spent.
It's an impossible situation. For people, so just to ask, so for people who are saying that they're not happy to approve that, why?
5 days work, $170,000. Unless you've got some.
Number that you're.
Yeah, because it's still it's
Feels like it's a cart
Making-
situation, right?
still making.
We needed to get the work done, and it was crucial to get the work done. Because we were going to be up for enforcement if we didn't get the work done.
It started in August with trying to drain the ponds and doing an analysis of the different things that might be causing the leak. So there was quite a process involved in actually getting to the point where we realised it was the redundant outlets that was the issue. So it's not as if it all happened in October. There's been a process since August.
Yeah.
But like,
Specialist divers and the ponds.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay me enough to do that job.
like Paul said, if you've known about it for so long, it should have been in the operational expenditure anyway.
I think just to be really clear, and I'm not defending anyone, I think it's taken a really long time to get to this point, but to be really clear, what was known was that there was a discrepancy between inflow and outflow. It was much more recent that a leak was discovered and confirmed. So the leak is new news. That's not something we've known about for 5 years.
So if there's a discrepancy, it's pretty obvious it's a bloody leak.
Where's the investigation on that?
Because we haven't invested in our infrastructure, and it was easy to say probably the inflow meters aren't actually doing the job that they're supposed to do.
But you will see that there actually has been a significant amount of money put in to Wellington Water and into these things, actually, over this more recent time. We're talking about from 2019, where it was recognised that there was an issue. So say this is not a historical,
No.
and it was found in 2019.
That when we say we knew that there was a leak, we didn't know that there was most definitely a leak until much more recently. That's
Totally get that. I understand that, but it's like say, give me 170,000, I'll fix that leak for you. It might not be that much, but if I give 170,000, I'm pretty sure it's going to come to 170,000.
But yeah,
You know, what I mean, these guys don't exactly go, oh, look, by the way, we saved you some money.
Could I just say, the fact is the work had to be done. We all agree to that. And so the work was done. Now just the process is total local government. So we have to approve the expenditure. And the chief executive has reassured us that she's going to look at the itemised account for that. So to me, that covers the issues.
well,
When we look at it.
what we need is a next step. So approving 170 has failed. We need a new recommendation that moves us forward.
Because 86 has been spent already.
I don't believe 86 has been spent. It's just 86 is sitting in an account that's
in that.
I'm happy to approve that.
To use money off that, out of that fund. We need to.
Sorry, just to be really clear, what I'm saying is we need a recommendation that moves us forward. So at some point, we are going to get a breakdown of costs.
Yeah.
What then? So we need a recommendation that says something along the lines of, we approve $86,484 to go towards the cost, and once the breakdown of costs is received, we will review it. But we need something to move forward.
Like pay down cost might come in at 50.
Just for clarity, I emailed each of you on the 9th of October and asked you for email approval, including the sum of 170k, and unanimously you told me to go ahead.
Yes.
At that stage, didn't realise it was well, it seems like quite a reasonably quick fix.
But we agreed to that.
Details on what was being done, just a fix. So it's sort of.
You caught me out there, Janice.
So if we have done it then, if we have already approved it, then
I did ask for permission from all of you
Yeah, you did.
before we did the work, and I did include the amount in the email that I sent you, which is why Andy's gone away and done what he's done, and why Stefan's done what he's done, because of the urgency of fixing the problem of just want to remind you of that, and everyone who responded told me to go ahead.
That's right. And now we can't leave.
Now back
leave
to
it
the
there.
audience.
I didn't realise that. Yeah.
I don't think anyone's saying they're not going.
No, we could see what the urgency was of getting it out of the exchange.
But we agreed to,
Break down a cost and
we just
it would be obvious.
back into a bit more
Right, so-
formality, just so we can move forward. We have already given an indicative permission to move forward. The CE has also said that she will supply us with the breakdown from Wellington Water of the cost. We are being asked to give a up to amount. We need a position to move forward. It's about to move forward.
I'm Janice, you're quite correct. I voted to approve it. Happy to change my vote to approve. I'm not sure if that changes anything around this table, where the vote is, what that would do, but I would, fall on the sword on that one.
Can I move the motion again? With no changes, no amendments?
Revisit a motion, standing orders. Resolved, you can agree. It's 75% of you around the table agree to revisit, you can.
Sorry, Janice, can you just give me the dates again of that email?
Because one of the things that I really appreciate is that we have a CE that we have a lot of trust in, and she's able to keep us apprised of things and allow us to act on things when they happen. It means that we can be reactive when we need to be, but I think if we are saying, yes, go ahead, and then when it comes to the table saying no, that's going to erode any trust.
Yeah.
that Janice is.
Yeah, I think
As a
no
council.
question about the trust there for me.
Yeah.
Janice, right? It's Wellington Water that I just don't trust at all. And
Here for that, Bob.
Janice, not a problem, right?
But this is Janice coming back to us and asking this.
Just take a pause. What I'm suggesting is we take a 5-minute adjournment. We'll just check the standing orders in a direction we do from here so that we can resume with a clear direction and move forward from this discussion. So we'll take a 5-minute adjournment. Amy? I knew that.
It does say that actually on page 23, but I'm not going to allow it.
Okay.
Right, if you will come back to the meeting, we are going
Oh, yeah.
to use standing order 23.5, revocation or altercation by resolution at the same meeting. A meeting may revoke or alter a previous resolution made at the same meeting where during the meeting it receives facts or information concerning the resolution. So I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to revisit item 2. Thank you, Councillor Gray. Councillor McCoy seconds. All those in favour of reviewing the recommendations, please say aye and put your hand up.
Aye.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you. Against? Councillor Woodcock, are you against? Thank you. The motion is carried, which takes us back to reviewing recommendation number 2, retrospectively approving the estimated expenditure of $170,000 to fix the identified leak of treated but not disinfected wastewater to the Papa Waste stream. All those in favour, please say aye and put your hand up. That is 7. All those against, please say no. Councillor Woodcock, thank you. The motion is carried. Number 3, recommends to council, no, not recommends. Number 3, approves $86,484 of the cost to be refunded from the unexpected event reserve for wastewater, with the remainder of the $170,000 to be accounted for within the wastewater operating surplus or deficit. Mover, thank you, Councillor Gray, and a seconder, please. Paulie. All those in favour, please say aye. All those against, no. Councillor Woodcock, the motion is carried.
We add a 4th in there that we received the breakdown from.
It's already
It's already
noted
noted.
in
So I
the
don't think
minutes.
it's so that goes to-
10.2, the 2024 resident survey results. We will now be moving on to item 10.2.
You, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. Paul and with us. Could you take us through the report and highlight any key points of discussion, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The report's undertaken every year as part of our KPIs that we have set through either the long-term plan, through the long-term planning process. So this is a regular report that we do. It's run by an independent agency. So while we might help develop some of the questions around the results themselves, haven't been touched. We've sort of left it to the agency to report that directly to us. It's possible in the future that we may change our KPIs, and so therefore the report might change in the future. But this had a reasonably good response rate and a reasonably good level of confidence in terms of the numbers of people that responded, in terms of the actual results. But what they do is they also weight the results. So I'm sure you'll be familiar. They'll look at the census data and they'll change the results. So it's more reflective of the community. So it means that certain parts of the community won't miss out, in other words, if they're underrepresented in the survey. Overall, the satisfaction results, they were good and bad. I think it's fair to say, though, that in terms of people's quality of life in Wairarapa, it's very high and remains reasonably high. However, the experience of the towns are quite different. I just wanted to point that out, that while Martin and Greytown have a higher perception of that town, Featherston has a much lower perception in terms of the satisfaction level of the town. Overall, while the results are not very high across some of the overall satisfaction of council, it is noticeable, at least in the last 3 years, that it's going up and slowly. However, in terms of the council services, such as people's experience of the library, pools, parks and facilities, they're very high. I'd say they're reasonably high, noting that just one thing from the survey, that the toilets were slightly lower than the others in terms of the service around that.
So as part of indulging in the results, I've shared that with the management team and within council. And as you'll see in there, within what limited resources we have, we've started to look at how we can improve performance. And I think the important thing is to note is that we'd want to see what these results are and what are we doing to improve performance over time. And just noting that I think there's numbers of layers within the survey that there have to be lots of actions happening at the same time across, from governance all the way through to operations to see improvement occur. So I've noted in there some of the actions we're doing, noting things like the survey was done before the library has changed their operation hours, for example. So we should see that now that council's made a decision on library hours, we should see an increase in performance around that. So there are noticeable things that you can make decisions on that would affect operations, that would affect performance. So you've just got to think that, well, you have a limited budget, are the areas you want to focus on. And the timing of this is always good because you can think about it in terms of the long-term plan, and so can the community as well. Thank you.
I've got a few additional points to make in addition to what Rob's outlined. Obviously, we're about to begin planning around the next election triennium. And so there's been thought put on already to what an effective onboarding process might look like moving forward and how we prepare any, the next triennium of elected members. And as it stands as well, we've just developed an elected member survey to look at our interactions with elected members and to try and fine tune what those communication pathways are between our good selves. So we work more collaboratively as a team of one between the organisation and elected members. In terms of interactions with council, obviously the recent conversations at this table and one of the papers today is around the Coastal and Rural Advisory Group. That's obviously going to further enhance that engagement pathway, but internally as well, we're undertaking a customer services review, as you'll be aware from a previous report, and some of the conversations at the strategic leadership team table are around customer centricity and how we adopt more of a customer centric mindset. Obviously, we're going to be developing an engagement plan as part of the LTP, looking at new ways in which we can innovate there, and that you'll all be aware as well around the significant work that's being done around civil defence, particularly around localised crisis management and our emergency preparedness in terms of our latest capability review. So there is an awful lot that may not necessarily be in the public eye, but is being done to further refine and our maturity as an organisation to be more responsive to the community.
Thank you. Any questions from councillors? Survey results. No?
I was disappointed to see how the results were read by someone else and then put into, how they took the information and how it was reported on. From what I see here, the feeling is that actually we're checking, quite well in some of our areas. And we know that there's sometimes that people not feel, not always are always going to have issues. We can't do every single piece of road. We can't do every single piece of footpath every year. So we know there's always going to be people who feel a little bit let down. And I think for the most parts, I just want to say that I hope that the staff take heart that actually at the end of the day there are still those swings that are moving and shifting upwards as well.
It's certainly something we reinforce daily. So yeah, thank you for that acknowledgement, Councillor.
Do I have a mover to receive the 2024 resident survey results report, please? Councillor Evans and a seconder. Councillor Maynard. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. Motion is carried. Thank you very much. We're now moving to item 10.3, the organisational performance management work. Rob, would you like to take us through your highlight? No,
It's me.
Mr. Gardner, would you like to
Had to put my old man glasses on, sorry.
take the paper as read, but if you could highlight any bits for us, it would be great.
Certainly. As you'll all previously be aware, we've talked about our organisational maturity in terms of tracking performance as an organisation. I like to think about organisational performance framework as a way of looking at how we function, what are the various moving parts, and how can we say what good looks like. It's fair to say that our internal systems and processes are still subject to a low level of maturity in terms of some of our IT systems and that kind of thing. However, we do want to embark on a longer term change that is actually going to take more of an inter-organisational performance approach and as well as how we're viewed externally in terms of the information that we get coming from other sources. So the purpose of this paper is to table what we feel is that a critical first step in implementing something which will act as an umbrella framework to our key performance indicators and measures of success. Previous long-term plans have had in excess of 100 KPIs. And what we found is when we've actually come to measure and report on these, I'm sure at the time they were written, they were highly aspirational, but if we haven't got the right systems and processes in place in order to measure them, then there isn't much point in doing so, and we set ourselves up for success, for failure. We know that we have chief executives KPIs, so we have the expectation that there will be a cascade effect through the organisation. The strategic leadership team have all got KPIs aligned to the CEs, and in turn also our teams either have or are having KPIs cascaded through teams in terms of what it means for delivery. We feel that the first step to this maturity journey is to implement what we call a balanced scorecard, and this is quite commonplace. The idea is that we will measure performance based on financial, customer, internal processes, and learning and growth. A lot of local government organisations sometimes feel that we are traditional, let's say, in terms of how we deliver services. So having learning and growth there and calling it out allows us to recognise innovation within the organisation and want to challenge how we've always done things rather than just doing the same things over and over again. This would be, however, with a view to us in some point in the future, moving from that balanced scorecard towards international integrated reporting standards. Now, this is about the health of the organisation. It recognises all the various component parts internally and externally. And so whilst moving us towards a balanced scorecard in the first instance, it is that first step. But even, I hope you will recognise this recommendation is that we need to start somewhere, and that's the balanced scorecard in the first instance. But our longer term aspirations as an SLT is to start adopting an integrated reporting approach, which will allow us to be much more strategic in how we view success as an organisation. Those are the highlights for me. I'd invite any questions.
Any questions?
Really good.
It's a really good paper, and it gives confidence that we're moving in the right direction and that there's really sound work being done internally to move in that direction.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess I was a little bit confused though. This is with regards to, is this including governance, is it? So this is something that we'll be involved in, or this is actually what you're looking at implementing into the, like.
Think of this as.
So this is, because that was where I got a bit confused on why we had it. Like, it wasn't, is this for the organisation side? So.
A good question. Think about this as being the machinery of the organisation and how we actually look at how efficient internally as a, yeah.
Okay.
And, but obviously we are here to serve our communities. And so we tie all of these measures through the balanced scorecard towards service delivery as well. So everything we do is to deliver services. And that's the beauty, having worked on a transition towards integrated reporting in a previous life, it's a wonderful mechanism by which we can really look at how we're operating as an organisation and how we might need to adapt our ways of working to deliver better customer outcomes and value in a much more dynamic way. So that's the longer term goal, but the shorter term goal is just to have something in place, yeah, and that we can lift it out to governance so you can actually have that oversight of how we're operating.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
Perfect. There's no further comments. I'm looking for a move, please, to receive the organisational performance reporting framework options paper. 2, to adopt the balanced scorecard model as the method by which council will manage organisational performance to align with the start of the 2025 to 34 long-term plan, and note the recommendation to agree to transition towards an integrated reporting approach at a later stage as council systems maturity limits.
Can I just ask, and so Janice, as the CEO, and now that after I've asked, I guess as a further on, are you happy with this? Because before we put something in place that is actually, I think, possibly sits more with you, we're just needing to align.
So that's why I'm the authoriser of the report. It's part of my KPIs anyway.
Yeah.
To report back to you on the method of performance management. So
Yeah.
this is satisfying the KPIs that I already have.
Yeah.
This is about how we put it into practice.
Yes, thank you.
I will move it.
Councillor Gray moves, looking for a seconder. Councillor Bosley. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say no. The motion is carried. Moving to point 4. Update to the terms of reference for council and committee report. Rob, take the paper as read, but if you could just point out the highlights, that would be fantastic.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I appreciate that we've got authors and authorisers not sitting in front of you, and it's a bit confusing. I would just hats off to Amy who did all the work on this one. So this terms of reference update is to enable you essentially to establish reference groups or advisory groups. It's a single line that we're updating. It's so that we can then set up the coastal and residents advisory group. So this is basically making sure that our terms of reference reflect what we are about to make decision on setting up an advisory group.
And the second point is
Yeah, the appointment of Councillor Bosley to.
Sorry, and the appointment of council. Thank you.
questions from councillors.
I just like the academy.
Feel free to. In this case, do I have a mover to receive the updated terms for the update to the terms of reference for council and committees report, approve the amendment to the strategy working committee terms of reference, and 3, note the change to the structure of the assurance risk and finance committee. Councillor Elands and a seconder, Councillor Maynard. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. The motion is carried.
Done.
Oops, sorry. Twice. I was like, that's okay. Sorry. Let's take musical chairs up. 10.5, very excited about this one. We will now be moving to item 10.5, Rural and Coastal Advisory Group Report. Nikki, do you want to take us away?
Kia ora, Madam Chair, thank you. So following the work that we did with representation review, this paper has come out of that, as you're aware, and today looking really seeking some direction, any feedback or commentary on what we have called the Coastal and Rural Advisory Group, and just seeking, if you so wish, a resolution for the establishment of that group.
I'll move from past the whole 9 yards.
I'll ask if we want to discuss it. I'm aware that we have pushed and discussed and advocated for this for right through the rec review, right through the planning for the rec review. Any discussion?
The only thing I wanted to just double check, so this would take place after the local elections, right? So this would be looking at being put in place at the end of October 2025.
Yeah, so I mean, we can set it up any time, so it doesn't fall within the representation review. So now that it is in the terms of reference, council is welcome to establish it at any stage. It would make sense to align it with the local elections. It will take a little bit of work to pull together the terms of reference and thinking about membership. If you had a chance to look at the Masterton rural group, they had some really clear criteria around making sure that those that were on the advisory group were either working in the sector or living in the sector. So I think that's important to consider. The other thing is just making sure that we have good representation for those communities. So in the paper, I just looked at who we normally connect with as part of our consultation process, but it would be good to just think about any other communities that you think would be worth having, you know, representation there, and how we go about getting that membership, and that if we've got 4 or 6 with a couple of elected members on there as well, how we go about getting those members on board and who they are.
And equally critical to the makeup of that advisory group is the process for how information and advice for that group is then brought up through committee or council for information.
Yeah, so through you, Madam Chair, it was interesting to see Carterton District Council recently had a paper go through looking at adding a few more aspects into their terms of reference for their rural advisory group to look at that feedback loop. So that is something that we're just monitoring closely. So I think it would be good to have lessons learned from Carterton feeding through to here. There are a number of other rural advisory groups outside of the Wairarapa that also include relief or some kind of work in emergency management. We have actually got a wider group for welfare related activities and emergency management, but that's also included that in the paper because I think it was just interesting to see the work that went on in the space.
If there's no further discussion, I am looking for a mover, please, to receive the Coastal and Rural Advisory Group paper and to agree to establish a Coastal and Rural Advisory Group and direct the CE to finalise terms of reference and bring it to this committee for approval. Councillor Elam, seconded by Councillor Woodcock. Although there are a number of contenders. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. All those against, no. Motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Becky. Thanks, Rob.
Decision paper for the afternoon. 10.6, control practices. Just for amended report.
Historic.
Just watching, Mr. O'Leary, take it as read, but if you'd like to highlight any important bits to us, that would be fantastic.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, in relation in detail under the background section, you'll see that the previous figure that was provided of 22 in relation to dog attacks was an error and is actually 6, which has been amended in the table further on in the report. Also under the background, there was some questions raised on the previous occasion that the report was provided to the committee, which have been answered in relation to owners prosecuted. There were none prosecuted through the court. One owner received an infringement and 2 others received warnings, and 1 dog was euthanized. And 2023 to 24, 2 dogs were euthanized. The second was due to an attack on a pet. Those are the points that I'd bring to the attention of the committee, unless you have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is a paper we've seen previously, earlier in October, and just with those amended. So it's not too much that is new here, just some any questions for the team? Fantastic. I'm looking for a mover to receive the dog control policy and practices 2023-24 amended report. I'm looking to adopt the dog control policy and practices amended report and authorise the chief executive to make the report publicly available and by public notice. Councillor Maynard and Violet as our seconder. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. All those against, no. The motion is carried. Move on into the information reports from CE and council officers section of our meeting. The first item being 11.1, the action items report. Are there any further updates from officers or equally questions from the committee?
I can comment on 40, is it 409, the no mo thing? With Stefan there, I have gone to the Great Community Board and I was looking for recommendations or suggestions of areas that the that trial could be carried out. As yet, no one's come back to me, so I have got a thing written out which I'm going to run by Alex to see if we can put a leaflet out into mailboxes of a street that I've got in mind. So that is
Got movement on the no-mo.
it is ticking forward. So I just need to run this by Alex as to what I want to say to people and get their feedback on. So
That's brilliant.
Wonderful.
the grass is grey on that one, guys.
Yeah.
Any other updates? It's pleasing to see that the list is
Sure.
and a number have been actioned actually, which will only leave 4 by my count on the list, which is exceptional. Doesn't look like we've got any other questions or comments, so we'll move along. The Wairarapa Combined District Plan Joint Committee update was to be spoken to by Councillor Plummer, but he has had to leave, so we'll take that paper as read and available for your information. Looking to members of the Multi-Standing Committee and Community Board to provide any verbal updates on the work you're doing in those areas. Start.
Oh, I was going to say, I was unable to attend the last GCB meeting, so Councillor Woodcock will have to update GCB.
And it's just a verbal update. There's no pressure. If members have any updates on work being done by the Multi-Standing Committee or Community Boards, that's great. If not,
so we have our new citizen ceremony coming up on Tuesday. So our kātahu that was gifted from Ngāti Hikuera will be used there for the first time. What else have we done? So following on from the wānanga, Taiao wānanga that was held at Kohunui between Niwa, Greater Wellington, everybody else. So we're planning on another one to be happening maybe March, the weekend of the 7th of March next year, to talk about the barrage gates and possibly changing what happens there so that the heke turner could happen. And what else?
We gave out grant.
So we had the grants meeting, yeah.
Yeah, we gave out some grant funding money and to get people down.
Yeah, but that's like everywhere, isn't it? There's just not enough to go around at the moment, so, yeah.
Yeah, that's it's been good.
And we had a good presentation from the Aorangi Restoration Trust when Joe House came in, just to have a call about that in the Aorangi Forest Park.
so any updates from the Community Board reps? Councillor Woodcock.
I think what happened at the last one, one of the main things with the community board, we've been talking to the public and stuff about the Great Elms War, which is all sorted today in meetings anyway. And yet we couldn't put our paper across that we wanted today, so to support which way to support the community the way we could. About sort of the main thing lately.
Councillor Bray.
So we've had our Featherston Community Board meeting. We were able to give out some funding to local groups from there. One of the people, I guess I just wanted to shout out who has received some funding, well, I guess two of them received funding from us, is the Featherston Community Centre. So I don't know how many people know, our community centre's been targeted. It's been broken into a number of times. Yeah. So not only are they having to deal with that, they're also having significant issues with the sewage and what's the pipes underneath the building. And yeah, so we're really struggling. And I guess just to acknowledge how important that community centre is to our community, the amount of groups that operate out of there. It's really important for our wee Featherston community. And then the other person or group to acknowledge is the Paitumokai Otoeda Plant Nursery. So we're able to give them some funding from the Featherston Community Board, as well as the funding that they will receive from their Community Wellbeing Fund. I don't know how many people know about that little nursery, but they do eco-sourcing of seeds. They collect seeds from around the lake, grow them up into healthy little plants and get them back out into the environment. And they do a huge amount of work from an environmental point of view, but also from a community point of view. There's a lot of volunteers that work there who all talk about how important it is to be able to get together and work side by side. And just really nice that both of those organisations that mean a lot to our community are able to be supported through the community board. Yeah, and then also to shout out the amazing people who put on the Lemon Ball, which was a resounding success, and an even more address to it. So you all missed out on that.
Oh yes. Did you pictures there? Did you take some pictures?
No, not even one.
Martin Burrow, did you have any updates for us?
No.
I haven't. Yeah.
The two reps attended the last
Nice.
meeting, but I did.
We had,
yeah. So yeah, like the other two community boards, they had sort of grant requests come to the table, and they gave out $7,500 at that meeting, which was good. They also approved their submission to the long-term plan, which I believe has now been placed into the elected members' lounge. So you can see the issues from committee board. They raised a safety issue around the new pump track and access across Princess Street. So we've taken that offline in the team to talk about how we might do that through signage as opposed to a crossing. So Stefan and the team are working on that. That's it.
Good work, everyone.
Thanks for standing in.
yeah, no, we appreciate it. Because, yeah, we both of us know we don't have a rural advisory board, but both Aidan and I are representing our rural communities at the Butcher's Box. The rural tuna.
Which is a comedy show.
Which is a comedy show, sorry. Yeah. Those that haven't heard of it.
Thank you, everyone. Lots happening in the community, lots of great work happening within our boards and committees. Because we moved our public excluded portion to the beginning of our meeting, by my calculations, Amy, that brings us to the end of this meeting. Love it when I'm right. Thank you, everyone.
You can keep going if you want.
Thank you, everyone. I'd just like to acknowledge that today has been a busy day. This is our third of 3 meetings. There have been some important decisions made today. We have resolved solutions for the Greytown Poor. We have agreed next steps for water reform and transition. And we have also made some good strides forward in this meeting. even though they have been in public excluded. So thank you for your time. Thank you for having the dedication to always be well informed on your papers, for robust discussion and debate, and for always having the best outcomes for your community at the heart of everything you do. We will close with a karakia, so please join me. Everyone.
You. Thanks, team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lovely work.
Yeah.
Yeah.